Welcome back to the Dirthead Shed. It's been another week and Louis ViTen is still on the lift. Today we are going to keep working on the steering, and I'm going to focus a little bit on tools I use. One of them being this little plasma cutter right here. Way back in the day when I was setting up my shop for the first time, I was still working out of my parents' garage and doing jobs in the driveway. One of the first tools I bought was a Miller Spectrum plasma cutter. It was probably in 1998, and I bought the thing used out of the back of a parts trader. Parts trader was like a classified magazine that you could get and buy tools out of, or auto parts or whatever. Auto Trader was the parent company, and it's still around. But back in the day, we used to go down to the old Circle K and buy the Parts Trader every Thursday and look for stuff that you needed. And what I got was this, it was actually either used or refurbished Miller Spectrum plasma cutter. I paid $1,500 for it way back then, and it lasted like 21 years, maybe 22 years. And finally the torch on it, the handle, wasn't working right, and I couldn't get parts for it anymore, so it was time to buy a new one. So I went back to Miller and I got a Miller Spectrum 625 X-treme, which is this super tiny little plasma cutter that now is using like inverter technology and is quite a bit better than the old one I had. It's half the size, half the weight. It works on 110 or 220 power, and it works great. Kind of a small unit. These things are meant to cut, I think they're rated to cut up to 5/8 plate, which is way more than I need for doing automotive stuff. If I'm cutting anything over 1/4 inch, it's not going on a car. I kind of feel like 1/4 inch is max that you need on a rock crawler or lowrider or whatever. So we're gonna focus today on more steering modifications on Louis ViTen. This thing is kind of dragging out. It's been on the lift for a while, and I need to keep making parts. I got a kit from Barnes that comes with quite a few of the parts that are needed, but one of the things I really want to do is double shear this pitman arm. We're gonna get into the process of building the double shear bracketry for this pitman arm. So let's get right into the process of how I go about making tabs and brackets. And that's with scissors and cardboard. You can see here, I was already cranking away on Louis ViTen over the last few nights after work. These are my templates for little pieces, passenger inside, like that. So since you saw this last, I went through and I boxed in these sections of the steering arms. I added a little gusset to the back side here that distributes a little bit of the pressure to more parts of the steering knuckle, as well as getting rid of a stress riser right on the edge of this knuckle, or this high steer arm. I also came out here and boxed this side, so we've got this steering arm and the driver's side one totally done and to where I'm comfortable with them. So the next step in this process is to take that pitman arm, which is over on the bench, and create a double shear so that it is grabbing both sides of the heim joint, just like these steering arms are doing. This is the pitman arm for Louis ViTen. This bolts onto the steering box. It used to have a tapered hole so that you could have a tie rod end on it, but this new steering setup I have uses heim joints rather than tie rod ends, uses straight bolt rather than the setup that the tie rod had that was tapered. So basically you could bolt this up and it would be probably okay for most things, but it's kind of a lot of stress on the side load of a bolt to not have two tabs on it, right? You kind of, in my mind, you always just want two tabs on it so that this can't rock back and forth. You can see here, I drilled it as nice as I could, and we still have a little bit of movement there. So it's time to figure out how to double shear this pitman arm. We're gonna start by grabbing the old cardboard, nice thin-ish cardboard, corrugated preferred. I don't really like using like super thin stuff because it doesn't hold its shape as well. Got my scissors out and we're gonna get going here. I'm gonna probably just use the pitman arm as a template for my shape that I'm gonna duplicate. I'm trying to figure out my game plan here. This is gonna be fine. All right, let's go ahead, cut this out. Everybody always gives me flack for my cardboard aided design, but it works and it's actually pretty quick. Oh yeah, this is gonna be cool. We'll get that going there. All right, quick and easy cardboard template. Let's go ahead and transfer this onto some plate and we'll cut it out and see kind of how quick we can make all this happen. Plasma cutter basically is like an electric torch. It's made mainly for cutting steel plate, cutting aluminum plate. I use this separate from my torch because I try to use my plasma cutter only on clean metal on the bench. I try not to get into using the plasma cutter on the vehicle. Like for a lot of guys will use a plasma cutter for like cutting the bracket off or torching rivets out or working on a vehicle itself. I tend to use a torch for those types of items, and I use a plasma cutter basically just for cutting clean plate or clean sheet metal on the bench. It is neat because it kind of will end up replacing, like you can use this instead of having to have a big stomp shear in the shop for doing sheet metal work. Like I'll just take and cut sheet metal with that as well, clean up the edge real quick, and then be ready to make pieces like this right here. The back wall in my, or the back step in my Nissan pickup, that's all sheet metal that was cut with the plasma cutter and turned out quick and easy and good. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get into cutting this plate right here. We're plugged into the 220. We've got air plugged in as well. Now it's time to throw some PPE on, protective stuff. Just like the torch, plasma cutter throws a pretty bright light out, so it's a good idea to run shaded glasses. These are 3s or 5s, I don't remember. Gloves and long sleeves, because as you'll see, this thing shoots some sparks. Oh my gosh, I gotta hook my ground up. This seems to be a recurring problem with David. All right, ground your material. Pull the trigger. And you're cutting. Piece of cake. If I wasn't filming and doing camera stuff, it would probably take 3 minutes to go from cardboard idea to metal plate. We're gonna go ahead and sand the edges off of this real quick, and then I can go and drill the hole and we'll start figuring out the next steps. I made that plate and I'm not super stoked with it. It is a little too thin, I feel like, so I'm gonna go ahead and transfer over to some 1/4" plate and we'll cut this one up and use it for a tab instead. This is a leftover piece of 1/4" P&O from some sort of 3-link, 4-link kit that I didn't use. We're gonna go ahead and cut the tab out of that. There we go, 1/4" plate, hand cut. This is my trick for getting the slag off. A lot of people think you take and knock the slag off that way, which that did work. I always go the opposite direction. All right. Now we can sand that one up and go drill a hole in it. way better. That first one I did was a little too thin. 1/4 inch is the look I was going for, and it should be plenty strong. Right, go drill a 3/4 hole in that, and I'll be right back. I use step drill bits for as much stuff as I possibly can because they're awesome. I usually buy these every few months. I'll just buy cheap ones and use them until they're not very happy anymore. But check this out. 1/4 inch plate. Go into a 3/4 inch hole. This step bit's getting weak. Come on, step bit, you're making me look bad. I was just bragging about how awesome you are. It's kind of a walk of shame. Apparently I smoked my favorite step bit on camera. Sorry, little guy. I just got sidetracked and watched a bunch of Matt's off-road recovery. My buddies Mark and Brody came to the rescue on his latest one. You'll have to go watch it. They went out and helped with the recovery out east of San Diego. Those were the guys in the Samurais from my video a couple weeks ago where we were at Fred's birthday party. So pretty rad. Dudes are getting it done, holding it down, doing rad stuff. In the meantime, I am still making parts for this. I got my holes drilled from a Pitman arm double shear, and we're gonna start mocking this up similar to the arms over there. I've got to like use the heim joints as the spacers and those shims, and we should be able to get going on the next round of mods on this thing. Ah, shims. I need shims. We'll do 2. There's a couple things to worry about here. I've got the Pitman arm. It's going to be on the truck like this, right? The arm's going to be over here. When it turns one way, it's got to tuck in like that. So I got to make sure I don't put a plate in the spot where that lives. And then the other way, it's got wide open. So trying to figure out a couple of things here. One is if I need to take this thing back off, I cannot cover this area because I need to be able to get a Pitman arm puller on it. Another is making sure I don't block the angle for the steering one way or the other. Like, I want an angle like right here. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this one back just a little bit, and then I'll build a tapered piece down. All right, just leave it together and cut it. Whew. All right. A little quick sand on there. Awesome. All right, now we're back in business. More scrap metal. Ooh, that's a good one. This piece, I need to box this back in, and that's where the strength of this whole project is going to come from. More plate. So I was actually doing this on purpose as a plasma cutter video, and now that I'm actually working on the truck, I'm like, this is pretty legit. Like, I'm using the plasma for like every aspect of this little project, so I don't feel too bad about it. When I started my idea on this video, I was like, I don't want to look like I'm selling out by doing a video on a tool. And now that I'm actually into the project, I'm like, this tool is legit helping me get through this project this fast. There's my end piece. Did I get weld splatter on the lens? I'm not very good at this camera stuff. Has anybody seen my clear glasses? I lost my clear glasses apparently, so we will use these ones again. A little cleanup on aisle 6. All of these edges will end up getting welded too. So we do want to clean all the slag off. Do a pretty good job of it. I am not a very good TIG welder and I would like to become better. So I am making a point of trying to TIG weld as much as possible right now. So even though in the past I've done this project and MIG welded it with success, I'm gonna go ahead and try and TIG weld it because I'm never gonna get any better on this thing if I don't practice. Let's go ahead and throw one in this corner too. I'm going to do a quick little test on the truck and make sure I don't have something terribly wrong. It's going to be awesome. The first few times I did this mod, I built the whole thing and boxed it way too much and then found out that like between articulation with that arm moving up and down and full lock on the steering, I kept like crashing into the parts I made. So I've kind of figured out to test fit and make sure it's all going to work earlier on in the project than wait until the very last minute. Let's figure this last little one out. I like the look of this little notch from this tab, so I think what we'll do is utilize it. Going to be cutting here, here, and here. Let's see how it works out. There we go, super quick little side gusset box. We're kind of creeping up on finishing this project. That's pretty quick. Pretty cool. I've got this welder cranked up right now. I mean, we're welding 1/4 inch plate to a piece of cast steel that's like, you know, 3/4 inch thick. And it's doing it, no problem. That's a pretty deep V there. I'll probably end up going and doing a second pass on it. This one I gotta lay off the throttle a little bit because I don't want to burn through it. Getting every bit out of that little piece of material. Whew, filler rod. Wow. Fab shopping with Dave. It's getting pretty hot on that heim joint, but I don't think we're anywhere near damaging the Teflon on it. Not gonna sweat it. I would much rather have a really strong weld because I didn't cool it off than worry about a consumable heim joint. I'm pulsing a little bit with the foot pedal right now, just so that as I'm going between dips, I'm not undercutting the plate too much. That one looks like I knew what I was doing. That is super cool. I gotta show you guys this one. Stoked on that. That's a pretty cool, quick little project, which will be on the truck for a long time to come. Double shear Pitman arm, pieces made quick, down and dirty with a little bit of help from the old Miller Spectrum 625. The 220 AC/DC Multimatic going on over here with the TIG welder. That's awesome. That's it for this Dirthead Shed. Thank you guys for watching so much. I hope you like the tech videos. Hope it's not too boring for you. The next video will be on the whole steering system on this and hopefully getting to wheel it because it's been in the shop way too long. All right, I'll see you guys next week.